All right, welcome to Visibility to Revenue. I'm so glad that you guys came, and I think this will be super fun. What I want to tell you is that this is a little bit of a working session. So if you have some paper and a pen or something next to you, or if you a little bit later on want to open up a Word doc, that would be great because I'm going to ask you to do some work. It's like kind of the initial work that you would do to map things out. I think you know the promise here is that you'll be able to map out that journey. And I love that you guys are coming from completely opposite sides of the United States. It's pretty cool to see that. And by the way, I am smack dab in the middle of Washington, D.C. If you're ever this way, please shout out and maybe we can meet for coffee. So, okay, great. So let's see. So I would love to know if you guys could just put in the chat, why did you come today? What was the impetus for saying this seems like the thing I need? Like, what's the expectation, or what is the kind of problem that you feel like you have right now that this spoke to? Super interesting for me to know that, and it helps me as I am talking through things today to maybe make this a little bit more custom for you. Okay, so my marketing is not converting to sales consistently. Yep. Okay, that is definitely what this is about. So thank you, Julie. Julie, anything in particular that you're doing right now that you feel is not working? You can drop that in the chat. And then Lisi, if you have anything you'd like to add, I'd love to see it. Because sometimes it's also good for me to understand more specifically what is happening for you. So as I go through things, I can call that out. Okay, social media and emails are not converting. Okay, got it. All right, so I'll wait for you to drop that. I know it's early where you are, Lacey, but if you can contribute, that would be great. Okay, cool. So you're definitely not alone in this. I hear these things all the time. And of course, at the end of this, you're going to get this cool little gift that I've created for you guys to help you specifically understand where you are in the process and what might be a good thing for you to do. And then, of course, if you're thinking that you want to move further to and do this and handle the issues now, there is a way to book a call with me, and we'll talk about all that at the end. But I really want to get you into what we're going to learn today. If this could go a little faster, I do have 90 minutes on the calendar because I like people to be able to do some stuff in the room. But what we're going to cover here is we're going to cover the difference between structure and foundation in your marketing and why most people get this backwards. And so it's interesting because many people who have this problem that you're having, and I see Lacey put in the chat that her offer is unique and the person is so difficult to know how to market. Okay, I think I get what you're saying here. Cool. We're going to talk about that. Great. Okay. And so the structure versus foundation issue, people like to jump to the structure of their marketing first. And it's natural to feel like that because you think, I got to get this out there. But when you do that, sometimes we skip over things that actually make your marketing work. And so we're going to talk about those things today. We're also going to go through the 4-stage customer journey framework. I think that in large part, what happens is we try to do a lot of things. We try to just go after a lot of tactics. And so you might actually be out there doing a lot of things, right? If you're doing social media and emails and you're speaking on stages and you're doing podcasts and all this stuff, and then you're not really seeing their efforts, like the kind of effort, sorry, the kind of results from the sheer amount of effort that you're doing is generally because you're doing too much. And we don't need to do all that. So I'll explain that and how that actually will work for you. We're also going to talk about the bottlenecks that are blocking you. What are the gaps? Your specific gap. There could be more than one, but don't despair if that's the case. A lot of things actually relate to one in particular. So when we get that one, usually we can unlock the rest, which is cool. Then last thing here, I'm going to go through a demo and it's very quick, but it's just a free tool that I like to use it helps me kind of visualize. I'm a very visual person. So it helps me visualize how I can map out what I'm going to do to reach my clients and bring them all the way down to a call with me to work with me. Okay. And so I know you guys don't know me yet. You came from Dee Dee's world, so thank you for trusting me with your time today. But I am Melissa Henry. I'm the founder of Hell of a Brand. I have 17 years of experience building and running businesses, and I bring that lens to my brand and marketing strategy work. I have a lot of clients actually told me, "Hey, you're like my brand therapist," which is super fun because the real issue is almost never what it looks like when you scratch the surface, right? We're just on that surface level there. And I usually, no, I definitely can help them uncover that and fix what they can't see on their inside their own business because it's always hard to see the label on the outside of the business, right? Or sorry, on the outside of the bottle that we're in. When we started, of course, you shared your expectations. I want you to know you're absolutely in the right place. So the first thing I'm going to share with you is the difference between structure and foundation. Okay. Because you said my marketing is not converting to sales consistently. I'm using social media and emails. You have a unique offer. Sometimes it's hard for you to understand how to market to that particular audience. These are several different problems. And let's talk about what this means when I say structure versus foundation. Okay. So structure is the tactical stuff. It's like the stages and the steps that people walk through in that journey. Okay. So it could be awareness stages. So that's how do they actually find you? How do they actually first come across you? Okay. It could be through lead magnets. It could be through events, webinars, nurture sequence in email. This is all stages and touch points through the process. Could be through like a system automations that you have going. It could be through sales calls. All of these things are structural in nature when it comes to your marketing. Okay. And then, and actually, let me pause on that and say this. A lot of times we're wondering, what do we do? We're always on the doing side, right? So, what if I run my own events? What if I do a list swap with a partner? What if I create a automatic webinar? What if I get up on a stage in front of people and like in a conference or something? The problem is if you don't have this side in place, this side doesn't work, at least not the way we want it to, or it's a real slog when we get there. So, what does support these steps? Clear positioning. You guys may have used or heard that word, right? Positioning. What's my position in the marketplace? How do I differentiate what I'm doing versus somebody else who might do something similar to me? It if we know if we have a signature offer in place, meaning something that we've created that can be done over and over again. It's like a framework of ours and how we work with our clients. That signature offer is the thing that actually does differentiate ourselves from others. And so that's a supportive foundational piece. And that doesn't mean, by the way, that you can't create other things, or it doesn't mean that you have to sell that thing all the time. You can have upsells, you can have downsells, you can create new things, but essentially this is like the methodology that you've come up with. So that is actually part of your positioning too. So it's an interesting thing here. What else supports your structure here is consistent messaging. So if we're all over the gamut around what problems we're solving here, then it's really hard for people to actually understand why them. Why is this important to me? And also having that audience clarity. I think that a lot of times in fact, I know this, everyone I talk to, every client I've ever worked with gets really squirrely around niching down. There's one or two here and there who've been very niche, right? But they've usually gotten there through lots of trial and error over a period of time, right? I think that when we get super clear about this, and there's ways that you can do that, that's when you're going to actually see some of these things. I mentioned that earlier. That's one of those gaps that once you do that, sometimes it kind of handles the other pieces. Okay. Let me go back one here. So let's see. I will tell you this stuff. I learned this myself over time. I had a lot of fits and starts. I had lots of things that I've tried to do, Facebook ads, the VSL funnel, all the trying to partner up with people in all these different spaces, but then I felt overwhelmed. And then when things didn't work out, I started like saying, well, maybe it's me. Maybe it's my offer. Maybe nobody wants what I am selling, things like that. So I want you to know that by the end of this today, you're not going to, don't think about that. Put yourself down in that way, because once you see what's going on here, you'll know this isn't me. It's not that I have a crappy offer or something. It's that I just had to make a few changes. Okay. One of the things that I did, by the way, when I found myself in this moment where I was doing too many things, I decided, you know what? I got to figure this out, because there's so many things in my head right now, and I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I don't even know what's the most important thing to handle. And so I sat down. I have this really large whiteboard over here, and I sat in the middle of the living room one day with all my colored markers, and I said, okay, so what am I doing? And I wrote down everything that I was doing, because I thought, well, I'll just map it all out. That's how I work. I work in processes. And so I wrote it all down. I was like, holy moly, I'm doing my podcast. I'm producing content for 3 different social media channels. I'm doing online workshops. I'm networking in all of these groups. And I was like, what the hell? Because then I realized that when I did that, every single one of those, and you're going to hear about this, awareness channels meant that I had to do, it was like a funnel for each one. So it was like I had to do this awareness thing and then all the other stuff that happened afterwards. And that's why I was going crazy. And that's why it wasn't working. And when I decided I figured out where my gaps were, and a pretty miraculous thing happened. A bunch of stuff came off of my to-do list, like a whole bunch of stuff. And that was like, that moment, that feeling. And so not only that, I realized too that because I had fixed a couple things, now it was much more effective because people got it. They figured it out. They're like, oh yeah, she's speaking my language. So I hope that makes you feel good. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if that feels like, okay, yeah, I want that. Would love to see that. Okay, let me see where I'm in my notes here. Yeah, let's go and jump right into the customer journey. Okay. Let's see, Krista's coming in. Let me grab her and add her in here. Yeah, and we did have Mahala join us. Thank you. Hi, Krista. We're in the middle of things, but I wanted to bring you in. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here.
Sorry, I'm late.
It's okay. No, it's fine. We're at the stage here, we're talking about the customer journey. So you came in just in time, I think, for this. So I want to talk to you about how do we move people through from becoming aware of us all the way to becoming a client. There are 4 stages to this journey. And I want you to think of this. This is the structure, okay? So we're on the structure side of things, not the foundational side, okay? So the first thing we have in that 4-stage customer journey, you probably heard me say it already, the awareness. How do they find you? Okay, this is where they're actually coming across you out in the real world, out in the jungle, as they would say, right? And for Julie, she said it's social media because the emails are already in your world. So the social media for you is your awareness channel. My guess, Julie, is that you're also showing up somewhere else. Am I right? You can put it in the chat. Doing anything else? Like when I talk about this, I'm saying, where are you out there in the world? Social media, maybe you're speaking to other people's audiences. Maybe you are doing a podcast or you're guesting on podcasts, right? Mastermind groups, yes. Even doing outreach, like direct cold outreach is another way. So I would love to hear from all of you guys. What's those awareness channels that you guys are currently using? And if you can, just drop in the chat, what is it? What are the awareness channels? And if there's one or another that seems to not be working, that'd be interesting to know. So Krista says she's in LinkedIn. She's in a mastermind also. She's direct network building and outreach. Yep. And then maybe if you guys can tell me, does this feel like too much? Do you feel a little bit scattered? Let me know if that's an issue for you. And I'll let you guys do that while I continue here. So we talked about what that is. And oh, here we go. I'm going to say the next thing here because I'm like going ahead of myself here. Yes, too scattered. Yeah. And it doesn't feel like a lot, does it? Because you're like, oh, I'm only doing these things. But then, as I said before, when you map it out, you're like, wait a minute. This means I've got to do all the other things underneath that or around it to be effective. Okay, cool. So here's what happens. Oops, I do that. Clicked in the wrong side of the screen. Okay, so to get you to the next stage of this journey, you have to have a way, a bridge on along that path so they can actually follow you. And so that is your call to action. You've heard that term before, I know. So this is what moves them from I just discovered you to I want to know more about you. So that bridge can be a lead magnet, a free guide, a checklist, a resource, a quiz, an assessment. It could even be an invitation to register for an event. That's what you guys did. You registered for this event. So that was my call to action. You became aware of me through someone else's audience, and then you said, hey, this looks interesting. I want to learn more about that. And you clicked and registered. You could even say on a podcast, hey, I do a monthly workshop. Come register for that. That's a call to action. But the point is, you've got to have that for every awareness channel. Everyone. If what you're doing is bringing them into your world. I get it. We've got to have the value adds. I know. But I will tell you this. I don't know if I was going to say this later or not, but social media is a place where people think that's their awareness channel. But for the vast majority of it, it's not. It's actually a place where people come to check you out. So it's not so much that they're seeing you, unless you have a huge audience out there and you have posts that are getting shared and all the things, maybe that is really the case. But for the more of us or most of us, when you post on social media, people don't find you that way. They go and they look on your profile and they go read your post. And that is not awareness necessarily. It's because they went and looking for you. Is that an aha for anybody? Because I feel like many of us think about it differently. So let me know in the chat if that sounds right to you, if that's an aha to you. But yeah, so the point is you just get them out of this stage, get them into your world, okay? In addition to the value added content, right? Because the next stage is consideration. You want them to be considering you, why you're different, why your thing helps them. And as I said earlier, or just now, social media is part of consideration, at least for most. And so the main job of this stage, does anyone know? Actually, I'd love to hear that. Does anyone know what the main job of consideration is for your audience? What does it do for them? I'm going to take a quick sip here and tell me what you guys think that consideration does for the people in your audience. Take a wild guess. Yes, you got it. Trust you, right? It's got to eliminate the doubt in their head, right? So if they can feel like you're trustworthy, they can feel like you're credible, they can feel like you understand their problem, they can feel like you have a solution, even they can feel like your values align with theirs. And there's one other thing here I like to throw in, and this is part of the positioning puzzle. I am huge on speaking your mind and having a distinct point of view in your industry. If you can say maybe something kind of controversial, but you really believe it, if you can say that publicly, that's usually really powerful for people because they can see the values alignment and then they trust you more. And then if they don't have a values alignment, peace out. I don't want you as a client if you don't have some kind of overlap in values here, right? So what happens in consideration? I'll give you some things and then I'm going to give you a couple and then I want to see what you guys think your consideration stages are. Julie has email nurture sequences. Isn't that right? Or yeah, okay, great. So nurture sequence, that is a space for consideration. Workshops like the one you're in right now. Yep, this is my consideration. Let's just be real. I want you guys to trust me. I want you to understand that I know what I'm talking about. So tell me, you guys, what's your consideration parts of your funnel here? Anything that you do, you can put it in the chat. I don't want to give too much. Just want to see if you guys are thinking about what you're doing. Anything different than email nurture sequences and feel like, hey, a free quiz? Yes. Julie, that's awesome. Yes, because the quiz is going to get them to understand that you understand them and you are credible. Perfect. I love that. I'll give you some more. If you're like, do you guys think maybe your website might be a consideration space? Yeah, good. Assessments are good. Yes. The frameworks that you share. Yes. All that stuff. Exactly. Yeah. And so when you have case studies and testimonials on your website or your landing pages, that's consideration. Here's one, direct messages, because they know who you are now, but now you're in the DMs and you are talking to them. They're getting a feel for who you are and whether they like you or not, and whether you're trying to pitch them right off the bat or not, whatever it is, right? And just a special note on that, one of the best ways to do anything related to DMs is if you can, sending a personalized voice note, because they'll open that and they'll read that or listen to it. And then it gives them it's a lot faster when they can hear your voice than if it's just text. And so that's something that I need to do more of. I've fallen off the wagon on that one, but I think it's really powerful. Okay. One really quick thing in this phase. Most of us, and actually, I want to hear, maybe it's just a hand raise. Use your digital hand so I can see you guys because some of you are off camera here. But you raise your digital hand if you, or maybe just give me, you know what, let's forget about the digital hand. Just give me a reaction of some kind if this resonates. Do you have an expectation that when people land here, that they're going to buy within the next, or potentially buy from you within the next, let's say, month? They have an expectation around that. No. How long?
I have it. Yes.
Okay, no. Great. Anybody else? Yes. Okay, Leasing says yes. She's has an expectation they're going to buy within a month. Cool. Okay, so I know we're divided there. All right, so here's the thing. It depends, but likely less. Yes, good. I love that. And I would love to know if you are keeping track of your metrics as you go along this process, like how many people came into your lead magnet, right? And then how many people ended up becoming a client kind of along your funnel there. I'd love to know, and you don't have to tell me, but think about that. How many of them actually become clients? What's the percentage when you get down? How many people at each stage make it all the way down and then become clients? Because the thing is that generally speaking, most people who become aware of you and land here in consideration, they don't buy right away. For some, it's there. I think there's like the stats. It's like generally around 2 or 3% of people are ready to buy right at that moment. And so the reason consideration, the reason I'm telling you this is because consideration is so important because you have to build trust over time with many more people. Right? Now, you can build it faster. They don't have to sit in your email list forever, right? You can do more of the consideration stuff to get them into a place where they trust you more and they realize that this is actually the thing, okay, for them. I'm always, again, I said this earlier with the voice notes, like getting in front of them, getting your face and your voice in front of people will accelerate it faster. So use it where you can. And one really quick thing, I know you guys told me what you have. I think just tell me yes or no. Do you have that home for people in the consideration phase? That looks like newsletter, community, even, by the way, Substack, which is it's very interesting and it's fairly new-ish. Substack is actually almost like a CRM. You do own the email addresses there. So if you guys are on Substack, that's interesting to know too. That's actually where I'm going to be going here in like later this year. I'm going to be starting up a Substack. So yeah, so if you have a home, That's where you want to have them. So if you got the newsletter, you got a community, something that's off of social media that you are able to own, take them with you, right? Because that's how you're going to build that trust. All right. So to move someone from consideration into decision, you need another call to action. Now, this could, for most of us, be an invitation to get on a call with you, right? A link to a sales page, an application to work with you. Or if you're working with a larger company or something, you might need to be generating a proposal that you will end up presenting to them, things like that, right? You sometimes too, and I want to point this out because I didn't really say it, I don't think very clearly. Sometimes there's two parts to consideration. So if you have someone in your email list, I have an email list, and you're sending them emails and things like that, you may want to get them in front of you. And so the next level of consideration would be something in person or something virtual, some kind of event like what you guys are in right now. So I didn't say that quite that way before, so I want to make sure I said that before I moved on here. But anyway, let's go to decision. So now they're in front of you. Maybe it's through a sales page, or maybe it is through a phone call with you, or it could be an event where you're actually going to pitch the thing that you're selling at the end. If that's the case, what do you think is really important for this stage? So they're already in this consideration thing. Now you brought them through here, and now you're getting ready to say, hey, make a decision. So what do you think's really important about this phase? There's several things, of course, but I want to just see what you guys say because there's one that people don't think about. And I want to point that out. But
Getting to a fast no or a fast yes. Don't letting it sit.
that's good actually. Yeah, don't let it sit. Speed is good. Yep. But there are people who won't buy right away. Even if they're really interested, they're going to need time to simmer, right? Reassuring them after they buy that make the right choice. Absolutely. That's a little farther along there though. This is before they say the yes. What do we need to do? I'll give it to you in the spirit of time, but the focus here, reduce friction. When I say friction, I mean, are you requiring them to go through a whole bunch of hoops to buy from you? Right? You want to make it easy. Like the simpler the path, the higher the conversion. And there's lots of points of friction, by the way. It could be you have too many offers. All these different ways that you're presenting on a sales page. You could do this, you could do this, you could do this. And everybody's like, I don't have any idea what's right for me, so I'll just click away. Or you have a whole bunch of things to click on in the first place. And it's a little nuanced here because sometimes there is friction. And that is when you are doing something like a really high level offer, maybe that you need people to what's the word I'm looking for? They need to actually fill out a form and apply to be in something. That might be actually a good use of friction because you don't want the wrong people, right? And if they're willing to do it, then you know that's the step that they needed to take. But for the most part, I think we put, generally speaking, a lot of things in the way. And just be thinking about that. How do I make this as easy as possible to say yes? Okay. All right, they're actively deciding to work with you. This is typically where we're doing discovery calls. This is typically where they're reviewing your pricing, looking at the contract potentially, reviewing terms, and they want to feel safe here, right? So that's how you're going to get them past that friction point or past that, I don't know if this is right for me. They want you to take care of them. They want to know that working with you is low risk. And so if you go into that sales call thinking about it that way, I'm here to help them feel safe. I'm here to help to understand them and get across that point that I do understand them. Then it's not a weird or salesy thing that a lot of, and I would say this, many women that I work with feel weird or salesy sometimes on those calls. It feels organic. It's not a sales call, it's a service call. You're there to serve them, truly. But you also have to be very clear. You have to be confident. And you have to make that path forward very obvious. As I said before, no friction. Don't make them work. Okay, you guys, there's another bridge here. Okay. And that is once we've invited them to act, the next thing is the client experience. So here's the thing with the client experience, okay? We all celebrate initially when we get a yes. We get off that sales call, they've said yes, you're super excited, and you're like, oh, this is great. I'm so excited about working with this person. And then what do we do immediately after the first payment to make them feel like they made the right decision? Again, they're still thinking they made a payment. Let's say it's a deposit or they paid in full or something. Just think about it from your own perspective. If you make a payment to somebody for a program or whatever, what do you expect to happen next? Anybody want to drop that in the chat? It'd be interesting to see. What do you expect from that engagement or that interaction? An onboarding email. Yeah, exactly. Anything else? Anything more personal? Possibly? Maybe you send them a little thank you note, like personal one. I'm so excited about this because, oh, flowers. Really? That's cool. I love that. Yeah, like little gifts, maybe something a little extra they weren't expecting. Think about this stage as being the deliver and delight stage, right? You want them to feel like it's you. They're like it's you really wanting to work with them, like you're bringing them in as someone who's special. And if you build that into your process, it's not a heavy lift. You just have to think about it. How do I make this really easy on me? How do I make this more automated, right? So yeah, so of course, we're going to deliver the experience. We're going to get them the transformation that you have promised them. And interestingly, this stage feeds back into awareness. And it does that through referrals, testimonials they give you, repeat business from you. So it becomes this flywheel, right? It just starts to become something that you can actually replicate more because happy clients become your best awareness channels beyond anything else, right? So if you've delivered the work, think about checking in. Put it on your calendar as part of the process of working with someone from the very beginning. If you know that you were with them for 3 months or 6 months or whatever the case may be, put on your calendar a follow-up date that's going to give you a reminder email or a reminder notification that it's time to follow up with them because they will appreciate that. It will be all part of that deliver and delight. You're checking in to see how are they doing? What's coming up with you now that we've finished our work together, etc. I want to shift gears just a second here. Anybody have any ahas that have come up based on these 4 parts of the customer journey? Just let me know in the chat if something is different. What did you learn from that, or what's an aha for you as part of this? Because I'm going to switch gears to a different topic. I just want to see where I'm at with this. Whoa. Sometimes I'm too clicky on my slides. All right. Anyone want to share? Trust piece could be stronger. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's really the key for a lot of people, right? It's not about performance. It's about being real. It's about showing up. It's about doing what you say, all the things. But I'd love to hear more about that, Julie, as we go into this. Remembering to follow up. Yes, it's so freaking hard. That's why I think, Krista, the best thing to do is to put it on your calendar just as a notification and as part of the process. If you have your process mapped out, your delivery process, and it's like a check, and if you can automate much of it, that's great too. Or if you have somebody who's working with you as a VA or something, helping you through that with every client, it's great. And it'll help you with that. Okay, so let's talk about your average client. Okay, so when I say average client, I'm talking about looking at who you work with and how much your offer is for that type of client. So what's your main offer? What's the value of that in dollars? So go ahead and put that in the chat if you feel and this isn't going anywhere. This is not live streamed. This is not being told to anybody, but if you can put that in here, there's a reason I'm asking for this. So go ahead and just drop a number in the chat. And this would be like the offer that you would love to sell like all day, every day. Your best thing, the thing you want the most. Cool. Julie says fractional CFO, amazing. Ooh, Julie, we should talk after this too, by the way. Okay, onboarding for 3 months, 7,500. Perfect. Anybody else? Krista does 6 months of executive coaching for 20K. I love it. Anything else? Mahala and Lisi, you guys want to share? If you don't want to, that's fine. I won't make you. It's just helpful to know. Okay. Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to give you an example of something, and then I want you to think about this for your own business. Okay, so let's say you are walking into a cafe, and I like to buy lattes, right? I'll walk in, I'll buy a $5 latte or $6 or whatever it is now. It depends on where I go, right? Let's say I buy this latte and I really don't like the taste of it. I just don't really like their coffee. I don't come in here again. And maybe also the person was rude to me, and maybe it was a little dirty in there and I didn't feel like I could sit down and relax, that kind of thing. Thank you, Mahala. I see it. Great. And so they don't come back. We have a concept in this marketing space called the long-term value of a client. So the long-term value of me as a client for that cafe was $5. That's all it was, because I'm not coming back. So then let's say I go to a different cafe on another day and I'm like, wow, their coffee's really good. And I sit down and they've got nice music going and it's just like a little lovely atmosphere. I feel like I can get some work done, things like that. I start to come back more often. Maybe I come back 2 or 3 times a week. And then maybe I start bringing people that I want to have coffee meetups and stuff with. So suddenly, like, I've come back repeatedly, and I've also brought my friends and maybe my family to this place. And pretty soon we've racked up a bill of maybe $3,000 at this one cafe, right? So the lifetime value of me, and maybe lifetime, I could go there for years, right? But let's say in 1 year, it's $3,000. They did something right there, and I'm coming back. And that's a whole lot more value. So the point is, the cost to get me in the door was exactly the same. However I came about them in my awareness act or in their awareness activities was exactly the same. If they had to place an ad somewhere out there or they put up a sign or whatever, it was a one-time cost to bring me in, essentially. And the difference in the profit is entirely based on relationship and referral loops, right? And so this is a simple example. I missed Patsy. She came in here and she was hanging. I'm sorry, Patsy, I didn't see you there, but you're coming in now, so hopefully you can hear us. Yeah, so really we're talking about the lifetime value of a client right now. And I want you to ask yourself, you guys put your value of what you're doing, the offer that you want to sell over and over again, okay? And so I want to ask you, and it's pretty obvious math here, if you had one client that you brought in at, let's say, the 7,500 for Julie, you had one client that you brought in and you were able to create this flywheel, this loop of good value, of service, and all of the things, and they brought in 5 more clients, would you be happy about that? That'd be freaking amazing, wouldn't it? Yes. So the easiest there is just 5x what you guys put in the chat. So if you have that, hold that number in your head about what that is. I'm not going to do all the math for y'all, but hold the number in your head. Okay, because I want to come back to that a little bit later. All right, how are you guys feeling so far with this? Are you getting some understanding of how you might want to do some things a little bit differently, or you're maybe seeing some areas that you kind of want to work on a little bit? I just want to just pop a yes in the chat or something to let me know that we're on the right track. I'm getting ready to do something a little bit different for you here. I'm going to just escape here, and we're going to go over to something else. Julie says yes. Awesome. All right, cool. So I promised you guys earlier on that we were going to walk through a methodology or a way to map out what we've already talked about, that whole series of awareness, consideration, decision, and of course, your customer experience, which is a little bit outside the scope of what we're going to cover today in terms of details. This is a program that I'm showing you right here. It's called, here, let me put it in here. It's called Draw.io. Okay. Or I think it's drawio.com actually, drawio.com. Try that instead. But what this does is it actually helps you get a visual representation of of how you can actually see your whole process in front of you. And it really helps you see where you may be doing too much. And it also helps you to see where the gaps might be in what you're doing through your funnels. Okay. And so what I want to show you here is just a quick demo of how it works. And then I'm going to immediately show you a completed customer journey so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. So essentially, this is a flow charting tool. Do you guys remember? Did you do flow charting in maybe high school or college? Do you guys remember that? I did. But yeah, with all these crazy little boxes and their different shapes and all of the stuff, I don't care what shape it is. I never cared. I never understood that. So I always just do whatever shape feels good to me. So I go and I grab this and I just put it in there. So it's like a drag and drop tool, right? Super easy to manage. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. You can click in there, you can make it a different color. You can double click and put in text. You can, this is my favorite part, you can connect things. Oops. See these little dots right here? Do you see where that arrow happens when I hover over it? I just go like this and I can connect it to that box. When I do that, I can I can click on this box and move. You guys are laughing at me because it's not working. Let me just take this box away and I'll put another box in and I will connect it to this one. So when I connect those, the reason I'm showing all of this to you is because that helps me move it all around. And it doesn't matter what they're both going to go together. And that's important because when you're mapping everything out for yourself, you want to make it easy. You want to make it so that you can move things around and take things off and connect different things. And that's going to be important here in just a minute. Anything else to show you on this? These are just very basic, but literally you can just poke around and see what other things they have. They have different connectors. If this doesn't feel right to you as arrows or you want like a dotted line or something else, you can just play around with that. But this is that's all I use. I don't really even need to use anything else. I can double click anywhere here or just click once and I can also put a box in there with text. I can also go in here and there is a text function. You can also use up here. There's a way to grab things up here. I'm looking for the text thing. I'm not seeing it right off the bat here, but I don't want to belabor this as much. But in other words, you can put text outside of these boxes too, if that's helpful. So why am I showing you all of this? Why am I going into a boring demo here? It's because I really think it's important for you guys to do this on your own. I'm going to give you an exercise really quick right now before I show you the next slide or the next thing. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. If you have a piece of paper and a pen, grab that now. Or if you want to open a Word doc, do that. But I'm going to ask you to put the word awareness and then the word consideration, leave some space between them, and then leave some other space and just put decision. And when I give you this time, I want you to write down all of the things that you're doing. You said this earlier in the chat, but write them all down under awareness activities based on what we discussed today, specific to you. And then write down the consideration activities you currently have. And then how do people make a decision to work with you? What's the thing that you're doing to have that happen? So I'm going to give you exactly 1 minute because I don't think it's going to take you that long. If it does, you can complete it later, but let's go. You guys need any more time? I can give you just a little bit more time. If you're done, go ahead and put done in the chat. Guess we do need a little more time, huh? I'm going to give you about 15 more seconds. Okay, great. Julie, oh man, that's so awesome. She says it's clear where she's lacking now. Amazing. Where do you think you're lacking?
The whole consideration piece, I do a lot on the awareness and I have all the decision piece already automated. But for someone who finds me and reads my stuff, it's lacking the trust, social proof, like all that's not there.
Oh my God, that's such a good awareness. I love that you shared that with me. So good, so good. Anybody else have anything to share as they went through that process? Because it's really enlightening, I think. That's the thing that I did, right? I sat there with my big whiteboard and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Anybody else? Give you just a second here to jump in. I know sometimes it takes a little bit of time to think about that. I think everybody else maybe feels a little bit shy or something, but that's okay. Let's kind of move on here. I want to show you what it looks like when we kind of complete the puzzle. And this is a real client of mine. And you can see we have, and I'll tell you what the difference is between the colors and all of that, but she was doing a lot of things before this, more than this, actually. But we made her kind of focus in and really we talked a lot about what does she love to do? What is she what helps her feel good about it? What does she like in terms of of getting awareness and all of that? And for her, social media again was not an awareness tool and she didn't really even kind of like it that much. And you know what? We all had, or people had businesses before social media ever existed. So it's not that it is a requirement. So just FYI on that one. Really, the answer is it depends. And what you'll find with me is I am tactic agnostic. I do not care how you do your awareness. In fact, your awareness activities really need to be in serious alignment with who it is you're actually looking for. Because if they're not there and you're doing it, then you're wasting your time. And I'm going to give you also another interesting thing before we go through this in more detail. There was this guy, I live in DC, and when I used to I used to work for a company, and I would walk to the metro, there was this guy who would sometimes show up with a sandwich board. Do you guys know what a sandwich board is, right? The thing that yes, exactly. And he had it over him and he was wearing it and it had this tailoring service, etc. And it was right there around the corner from the metro. And guy was out there every morning talking to people as they were walking into the metro. And I said, hey, that's pretty cool. I don't really ever see anybody do that. Is it working? And he goes, oh yeah, all the time. And it's because he knew where his people were. These were people going to work who needed their clothes tailored, and it was right around the corner. So he was like in the right place, in front of the right audience, doing something so old school, but it was also disruptive because people don't see that every day. So it was perfect. It was like ideal like marketing case study and doing something you enjoy doing that's in the right place and for the right people and disruptive and everybody sees it. And he says his business is going great. So anyway, just to share with you, it doesn't really matter what you do. You just got to do the right thing for the right people. So that being said, she's not doing awareness through social. She's probably still posting out there, but not really that much. And so it's not really part of the funnel necessarily for her. So what did she like to do? She likes to do in-person events. And so we said, okay, She also did speaking. She also did networking. And so what we decided for her, networking wasn't going to lead her directly to clients necessarily. So great if it happens, but why don't we use networking to get you on stages? Why don't we use networking to get you in front of your audience? So partner, like look for partners when you're networking, not specifically clients. So that's how we set her funnel up. And if you see, the green is what she's already doing. She gets client referrals. She does in-person events already, but she's running those herself. I want to make a distinction there. So she's doing all her own marketing, all that stuff. Those are things already in place. But she wants to get more partnerships so she can get in front of other people's audiences. And if she does that, then she'll send them to a lead magnet because that she wants them in her world. That's her CTA. So if she's speaking on someone else's stage, she gets them in a lead magnet. They'll go in the newsletter. And then either they will go to a workshop because her newsletter will announce the workshop. That's her own workshop. Or maybe they'll book an insight call with her. So do you see how this all kind of fits together and that there's the next stage? If she's doing an event, she's got them in her personal workshop, because this could be at someone else's place or whatever. So personal workshop, and then that's the registration page of the CTA, and then the personal workshop, and then she invites them to get on an insight call with her. But everything leads to that insight call in here. There's no doubt where she wants to lead them. And everything also leads to a newsletter or the workshop. So what I didn't put in here was that this workshop thing also goes here. So there's a double arrow here. I don't know if it's getting a little nuanced here. So I know I can be very detail oriented. So let me know if I'm confusing here. But point is, if they register for a workshop, that's also a lead magnet. So they would end up in her email newsletter from that too. So it goes both ways on that side. So, okay. And so then, of course, the call to action to book the insight call leads them to a decision point. And then she, of course, has her onboarding and all the things that she's going to do. And she's got a couple of offers here that she knows that she would be discussing with them when they're inside of this decision point. What do you guys think? Is that helpful? Do you feel, if I totally made it really confusing for you, or do you feel like okay, Julie says yes, good. You must be the kind of person like me who likes to see things visually and in a process. Yes. I say that because I used to be a CPA. I come from that world of everything has to be linear and all the things. For the rest of you, do you feel like that's helpful or do you feel confused? I just want to know if I'm helpful there. And if not, I'm happy to talk further about that later. So let's see. Oh, that's okay, Patsy. I get it. And don't worry, I'll send you a replay for this. I send the replay to people who show up because I know. No worries. Okay, so let's do this. Confused and overwhelmed? Oh no. Oh no. All right, Lisa, tell me specifically if there's something I can tackle right now, but otherwise I'm happy to talk later. Good. Okay, yes, of course, Mahala will do that. You can always put it in the chat. I'm watching the chat. Okay, so we already went through this. Oh, goodness me. What's the next stage here? I want to go through the bottlenecks. Visuals helpful. Yep. Okay. Okay. So ideas to move from awareness to consideration. Please remind me, Krista, at the end when I have the Q&A that we can talk more about that. Okay. This basically outlined what I thought were, and what I see over and over again, are the bottlenecks that I find people fall into or can't move beyond because they're a gap in your foundation. Because we've already been now through the whole structure, but foundationally, here's where it can trip you up. All right. So the first one is an audience gap. So this one shows up as, hey, you're visible, you're in these awareness places, right? But you're reaching the wrong people. Or said a different way, you're not reaching the right ones. This is like where maybe you're trying to stand on the corner in front of the metro with your sandwich board, but your people are all online. Nobody that's walking past you, they're all working from home. So you can kind of see, oh, I shouldn't even be there. Why am I even there? And there's a great example of this, actually, is one of my clients. He is a Reiki practitioner, and he has an online program that he's doing. And he was working with someone who, and listen, I love my marketers, but many of them will send you down a path without understanding where your clients really are. So that said, he was on LinkedIn and doing this LinkedIn strategy, which was outreach, and he had 600 responses to his initial DMs. But then when he started looking at who they were, none of them were in his target audience. So he was like, I could probably help those people, but when I'm looking at this isn't like, I don't even know how to take them further because they don't even really match up with what I'm looking for. And so he just spent a lot of time and effort in a place where he wasn't getting the results. So it's important. We need to understand who is our audience, and we need to understand who they are at a deeper level too, because that matters for messaging as well. And again, I think I mentioned earlier, a lot of people have this resistance to really getting niche here and figuring out exactly who it is. And what I'll tell you is that when you do that, I know that you feel weird about it. I know that you feel, oh my God, if I do that, I'm going to not be reaching a wider audience or something. And the exact opposite is true. A good example of that is there was this guy that I know who would teach people how to do challenges, online challenges. And he had this one client, and she was Latina. She was she liked to do Bible studies and things like that and read the Bible and all that. And she liked to quilt. So she was Latina, she read the Bible, and she liked to quilt. And so that was a niche that she said, oh, I'm just going to reach out to all Latinas who read the Bible and like to quilt. And he was like, whoa, that's pretty niche, right? She had in her very first challenge, because she knew that niche audience, because it was her, essentially, she had 1,900 people sign up for her challenge. Holy moly, right? And that's because she was so she could speak their language inside out. She knew all the phrases. She knew exactly what they were going through. She had all the messaging. And how many of us would love to have 1,900 people join whatever the hell it is we're doing, right? Yeah, of course. So don't overlook this. And I'm telling you, so many people come to me and they say, I've done this work before. And then I say, okay, why isn't it working then? If it's not working, then you might not actually be doing it deep enough, or you're not trusting yourself. You're not trusting that you've chosen the right thing. And so you keep opening it back up again. Think about that for yourself. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. The next one is a positioning gap. And there's nuance around positioning. I think it's kind of an art and a science, and it does have a lot of factors involved here, but really it has a lot to do with why you're different from someone else who does what you do. So if they don't get it, they're not going to click further, or they're going to be like, I've seen that all before. It's all the same. All you life coaches are the same, or something like that, they might say. And I know that's not true. I have coaches who are my clients, and every single one of them, even though the thing they're doing sounds like the same, it totally is not. And so we need to be able to articulate that in such a way throughout in various ways, not just, hey, I'm different because, but the problem you're talking about can be related to how you want to come across. Okay, does that make sense, you guys? Because this is such a nuanced area that I think it could just be really confusing, and I don't want to confuse you at all here, but it is important for us to really truly understand what makes us different. So maybe that's where I'll stop with that one for a moment, okay? The next thing that I see as a potential gap that people have is in our offers. And what I mean by that is a lot of people, maybe not you guys, I don't know, but a lot of people have it's okay to have more than one offer. I said that earlier too, but maybe you're custom quoting people. You get someone on a call and you can do a lot of things, and you're like, I'll just wrap in because I see that's a problem for them. I'm going to wrap it in here and I'm going to wrap it in here. And pretty soon every single client you have you're doing different things for them, and it becomes really difficult to actually have a good customer experience. The screen is cutting off the first part of the slide. Is it? Slide 3 on the screen right now. I'm not seeing that on my side. Are the rest of you guys seeing that? Screen is cutting the first part of slide 1.
Must
Looks
be
okay
pilot
for
error.
Julie.
I'll try to figure it out.
Yeah, okay, because I'm looking at it on mine and it doesn't look that way, and I don't know what else to do unless I
That's all
maybe
right.
change.
As long as I know it's me, I'll figure it out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Patsy. All right, cool. So where was I going with that? The offer. Yeah. So if you're custom quoting, then that's nothing to really lead people towards, right? So there's no real destination. People start to feel like maybe you don't know what you're doing, right? We do not want that. The other thing about your offer gap is if you have an offer, let's say you do have a core offer that you want to offer here, but you don't know what lead magnet, how are you going to get them to that? That gap is missing because you haven't set it up in a way that actually naturally leads them into the offer you want. So a lot of my clients have come to me because they've said, I have a lead magnet, but it's not converting, or when it does, I can't get people into the offer that I want. I'm like, what is the lead magnet? And then we find out that it has nothing to do with the offer. It's just something fun that they put together, and then it doesn't make it a natural selection process to your offer, if that makes sense. And so how does that show up? You're having to explain what you do differently on every sales call, or you have really long sales cycles between someone becoming aware of you and becoming a client, right? Because it took them so long to figure out what the heck you were about, perhaps. But yeah, so that's actually the third thing I see a lot of. I'm not sure if you guys are seeing that potentially for yourself here. But the fourth one is either you have no customer journey, or you have one that's missing, there's just gaps in it. Okay. And I think Julie actually kind of pointed that out. She felt, oh my gosh, I've got all these awareness things, but my consideration phase is a little wonky. And so we got to work on that, right? You need that path. You saw the way that looked on the map of one of my clients, is like, we need that path all the way down and we need to follow the path. Don't add more stuff after you've done that. Give yourself time to see, is that path working? Keep your metrics in every part of that whole thing. You're going to have metrics around awareness, metrics around consideration, metrics around decision, so that you can see if it's working and then make the changes you need to over time. So anyways, yeah, so those are the gaps that I see the most, but I'd love to hear from you guys. 1, 2, 3, or 4, or maybe a combination of those. What do you think might be a gap for you? So if you can just share in the chat 1, 2, 3, or 4, or maybe one or more of those. Let me know. And I'll be honest, man, I had an audience gap in the past, and I do this for a living. Oh my God. Okay, so Julie says, not sure my lead magnet low ticket offers actually lead to a signature offer. Okay, so that could be an offer gap from the perspective of we need to actually figure out what is the right thing to bring them in. That does lead to the offer. Krista says, oh, it's okay. Lacey says offer gap. Okay, great. Anybody else? Love to know. Okay, so all right, the same all, okay. So here's the thing. The good news is when you fix this, then, oh my God, the awareness stuff becomes really obvious. Like it becomes obvious what you need to do, right? You basically take all the things you might be doing right now and you're going to kick some things out. You might add one, and maybe you have 2 awareness channels and you're bringing them down and they are coming in like hotcakes. Okay, so it can be changed, but it's one of these things or more is where you have to focus your efforts first. Don't do your Drawio map yet. Figure this stuff out first. Okay, so, and it doesn't take forever to do this either. Okay, so I want to go back to that question that I posed earlier. Can you drop in the chat what 5 times your offer value would be to you if you got one client in and you could say reasonably that you could get 5 times that? Okay, Lacey, thank you so much for coming. Yeah, Julie says $37,000. That's what it's worth to you, right? Patsy says $20. Come on. Was that meant to be 2,000?
I'm here to learn.
Okay, no.
I have a long way to go.
Oh, girl. Let's see. Okay, so do this. What is your core offer right now? What do you do?
I have 9 books that I've published.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, I see what you're
So
doing there. Do you
one
have an
one book I
offer?
make $4 off of.
Okay, but do you have an offer that comes on the heels of that book? Do you have a coaching framework or
Not
consulting?
not yet, but I do
Mm.
want to create that and build that out.
Okay. Okay. I see where you are right now. I get it. Okay. Yeah. So when we talked about this earlier, I don't know exactly where you came in the whole thing, but what we were talking about is when we have that core offer and let's say the value is 5,000 or whatever it is, if you bring that one client in at 5,000 and you are serving them really well, it becomes a flywheel and they can refer clients to you, come back for more, etc. So you could be looking at 5 times the value of that one client. And that means that all this stuff I'm talking about could potentially lead you to that. And so that's why it's important to fix the foundation because it could mean 5 times the value of just one. I think we always think about what's that one client I bring in, the one client, next one client. No, I'm talking about bigger growth here. So anyway, I do have the bonus that I talked about at the beginning. Before I drop that in here, you guys, how do you feel about today? Was this worth it? Did you feel like you learned something? I would love to hear what you're taking away from today, what you're excited about changing. Thank you, Julie, for the hearts. I love that. So nice. What are you taking away from this today? And then I'm going to drop this in when I get a couple of comments here. Anybody want to share something that's a takeaway? Drawing board. Okay. Stages are great to focus, efforts, and where to spend time. Fantastic. I have a lot of work on implementation, but this is good. Yes, so good. Okay. Oh, I'm so glad to hear it, you guys. If it's helpful, I'm going to drop this in the chat. This actually is a, hold up. What did I just do there? Yeah, okay, this is the right link. It just has the wrong SEO on there. Okay, looks like that's something I have to work on. Okay, so go, when you have a moment after this, grab that link and go take this quiz. So this is my visibility to revenue gap finder, right? And this will actually help you specifically with your business, help you understand exactly where to focus your efforts. I know some of you probably already have that now from what we talked about, but it's always good to get a little bit more detailed in there and find out if you can, there's some other things maybe you're not thinking about. Okay. And that, by the way, what I went through, all the things I went through today, those are all the areas I help my clients with. I literally take them from that visibility to revenue space, making sure that all of those gaps are filled. And after you go through this gap finder, it's going to give you this link, but I'll give it to you here as well. So this is just a diagnostic call. I think you can tell from how I am. I'm not like, I don't do this heavy sales thing. I literally want to know, can I help you or not? And as you go through this GPT thing, you might say, yeah, I want to talk some more about this. And so what I do on those calls is I want to find out what you found out and then help you see what might be next for you. And then if it feels like a right fit, then I can always share with you what it looks like to work with me. Now, you're going to need a password to get in here. Maybe some of you have already clicked on it and found that's the case. So when you click on the thing, it'll say ready to get started. Click on that little button in the GPT. Yes, you need an account on ChatGPT. I'm sorry about that. They're free. You don't have to go and pay for ChatGPT to use this. And just like side note, I'm figuring out a way to get all my GPTs off of ChatGPT because I don't want to pay for OpenAI. I don't like Sam Altman and all the things, but that's my own like little aside there. But anyway, so you'll need that. It'll ask you for the password when you click on that. So go ahead and do that. And then aside from that, yeah, me too, Julie. I'm like, forget him. I'm using Claude from now on. Claude's everything for me now. I hope that Claude and the people that are running that group, yeah, let's stay good. Stay good, people. Okay, so yeah, you guys got that. I'll open up the floor for questions. I'd love to know if you guys are going to grab that call with me. Let me know in the chat. You can put call in there, something like that. Always good to know if I get to see your faces later. But now is the time for questions. I think somebody had a question earlier, but I think maybe she might have popped off already. Was it one of you guys that said you had a question? Not so much. Okay. You guys, I truly appreciate you being here. I hope that this was helpful. I hope to see you on a call with me and we can talk through specifics of your business. And yeah, I just appreciate your time and go have a great day. Try to enjoy it and let me know how it goes.
Thank you,
Thank
Melissa.
you. Appreciate
You are
your
so
time.
welcome. Yeah. All right. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
You're welcome. Bye.